Hey y'all, Dick Pomeroy here with PR Equipment with stores in Kearns, and we also got a store in Canton, Texas. Hey, today we wanted to talk about a piece of equipment that's kind of hard to get our hands on. As many of you probably know, we took on the full line contract a few months ago. Already sold some of these windrowers, but they're kind of hard to get your hands on. We've got plenty on order coming, hopefully in the springtime, but not really many to kind of walk around and talk about. So our good friends at Parallel Ag let us have this one. But I want to talk about some of the options and some of the things that you might want to consider when you're shopping. And to be honest with you, one of the best ways to buy one of these is to go ahead and lock in a pre-order. There's some financial advantages and things like that to doing so it might be something you want to consider. Now, kind of front to back, this is the WR series, so this is the current model Massey windrowers, and they come in three sizes. So that's the 197, which is what this is, the 235, and the 265. So it more or less corresponds to horsepower, 197 horsepower, which is what this is, 235, 265 horsepower. So there's three different horsepower sizes within this range. And then as far as heads go, there's basically four that we're gonna be dealing with because we don't do any grain crops with this. So for hay, we're gonna be focused on four heads, which is the 9313S, the 9313D, and the 9316S and D. So basically what those correspond to is the 13-foot and the 16-foot, whether the S and the D stands for single or dual conditioner. So the dual is kind of the twin max. That's what people always talk about, is the twin max. In our area, lots of 16, a few 16s, lots of 13s. 13 is probably a little bit more popular for us, but most of these heads are going to be single conditioners. We just really don't have much of a need for a dual conditioner in our conditions. Now, that being said, kind of moving back, talking about a few of the other options. There's two cab suspension options for this machine. There's the air ride as well as the spring suspension cab. This one happens to be the air ride, which of course is the premium option for this windrower. A couple tire options. That's probably one of the biggest ones, is whether you want to go turf or ag style tires. It kind of depends. We've got some guys that love their ag tires, but for us, we're going to run a lot of turf. A few other things to consider is the steering option. So with these windrowers, you basically got two options, which we affectionately call this option the crazy wheel style, which is kind of the more traditional type of steering where the wheels just kind of follow. It's differential steering on the front, and the wheels just follow where you're going. There's also a rear steer option, which is where we're going to actually hydraulically control the steering from the rear. The benefit maybe to the rear steer is a little bit more stable at driving down the road, so we can actually run a little bit faster. Obviously, it's an option that's going to cost a little bit more money, but something to consider. Now, there's a ton of options before we climb up that we don't really have a lot of use for. We're not going to do a lot of swath rollers and things like that on the back, so we don't have a lot of use for that. Not a lot of TWA is going to be mounted underneath these things. We're not merging a lot of swaths around here. So there's some things like that don't really matter to us. But maybe a couple other things that do is lighting. So this happens to have the LED light kit versus the standard halogen kit. Regardless, lots of lighting on these units, so there's plenty of light. Now let's crawl up in the cab. I want to talk about a few of the cab options and things like that you might want to consider. So before we hop up in here, I want to talk a little bit about the receiver. So all of these are going to come auto guide ready, and you basically pick your receiver. This happens to be the Trimble 482. There's also a Novotel option. Regardless, both of these are going to get very good accuracy, but it just makes a windrower. You wouldn't buy one without auto steer. Let me put it that way. So as we climb up in the cab, one thing you will notice about this one, it does have the upgraded seating. So it's got the leather seats. Both the buddy seat and the main seat are going to be this leather seat, but of course heated and ventilated as well in the premium seat option. You pay a little bit more for it, but it's kind of a nice little feature. And then one of the next things to talk about, there's some radio options. I mean, honestly, there's just remove the radio or have the radio, but it's a deluxe radio. It's a good radio. But one of the things you really might want to consider is whether to go with one console or two. So when we go with the two consoles, we have our machine controls and our machine settings and display here, and then our guidance is going to be off its own monitor. It is more than possible to run this with just one monitor. So if you're trying to reduce some cost, there are some ways to do it. You could go one monitor with standard lighting and you know, maybe, you know, obviously the standard steering, stuff like that. But I like the 2 monitor setup. I think it's a pretty nice, it just gives you the ability to do everything you want all laid out all at once. So that's kind of the basic rundown of what, you know, these windrowers are going to be like in our area. Everybody's area is a little bit different. You know, you might have needs for some other things, but in our area, that's what we got. If you guys are interested, come check one out. We don't get them all the time, but we have one right at the moment. So if you guys want to swing by and check these out, you can lock in a pre-order if it's something you're interested in doing, like say save some money that way. And even customize it to your liking. So with these pre-orders, we have the orders in line, and all we got to do is kind of basically, you know, modify the order to what you're looking for. We have some options to do that, and then we can lock it in to where the pricing and the programs are stay the same. And when it comes time, if the programs are better, you can take those programs, or you can revert back and take these programs. So you got a lot of options. That being said, y'all, if you're looking for some new hay equipment and maybe a new tractor or something, come check us out here at PR Equipment. We are striving to be the best in terms of service and whatnot, so we can take care of you. And we're gonna, like say, on our area, we are your go-to Massey Ferguson dealer. Y'all subscribe to us on Facebook, YouTube, like us on Facebook, I should say. We can't wait to talk with you about what your hay needs are.